Well, for the next 3 weeks after tonight, we're going to look at the idea of purpose in pain, and this series is actually from the book of Second Corinthians. When you're going through something, God shows you things in books that you didn't see when you weren't going through those things. And Second Corinthians is one of those books that are good. I'm not trying to say it's not, but since all this stuff happened with me over the past couple of years, it means something different to me than it did before, and that's a good thing. You grow and you learn, and God speaks to you in fresh ways through the Bible. So, in life, you're going to go through painful things you don't really want to happen. And you're oftentimes going to think something along the lines of this. Maybe not exactly like this, but along these lines. Nobody cares. It doesn't even matter. Nothing good will ever come out of this. Or how about this one? It was a complete waste. You ever gone through a situation like that? If you're over the age of probably 20 or 30, you're probably saying, yeah, hey, and if you've had the courage to live past 60, you're really probably saying, yeah. Sometimes we try to lie to ourselves and say, it's all going to be okay because, everything happens for a reason. And so we keep telling ourselves that, hey, everything happens for a reason. And it makes us feel better about the situation. We don't much care what the reason was. We just care, hey, I'm going to lie to myself a little bit longer. And the truth is, the Bible doesn't actually say anything about everything happening for a reason. In life, things are going to happen. There's going to be problems that you face. Jesus put it like this: you will have troubles in this life. But he did give us hope for that dark cloud. One of the big hopes of the Bible is that the dark cloud won't last for forever. But another thing, another little hope that he gives us is that things don't happen for a reason. But according to Romans 8:28, God creates meaning from pointless pain. You're going to have things happen in your life that are chaotic. God didn't necessarily cause them. It's not like everything in your life happens for a reason. But God takes those pointless and chaotic things, and he gives them a new meaning. And that's what Romans 8:28 means. And we know that God causes all things to work together for good. Not that he causes all things, that he's behind everything, right? Because if he was behind everything, that would mean he made Adam and Eve sin in the garden, right? He didn't do that, right? Because there's no evil in him. So, things happen in our life, but God causes those things to work together for good. Now, if you have a translation like the King James, it's actually a very misleading translation because it says something along the lines of this: all things work together for good. That's not an accurate translation. God causes all things to work together for good. Things don't just magically come together. It's not like a Lego that's aligning itself, right? Together for good to those who love him, to those who are called according to his purpose. So this is a promise that applies to Christians, not to all the world, but to Christians. See, as a Christian, when you go through things, you have a promise that God is going to work through it to build character in you and to make something good come out of that bad thing. Without Christ, not only do you not have hope for the next life, you don't have hope in this one because the things that happen to you, they're just bad things. Nothing good comes from it. It's just another struggle in a painful life. But Christ takes things that are unfair, that are pointless, and he gives them a meaning and creates beauty from something that is not pretty. So think of that thing that keeps you up at night, the hurt you still don't like talking about. Everybody has something. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody has something. That thing that keeps you up about that you hate, keeps you up at night that you hate talking about. God takes those things and works character in us through them. And if we allow him to, he'll actually give us peace in those things where they don't have to keep us up at night forever. You go through the grieving process, you grow, you seek God, and you heal. But the thing is, we actually have to let him. It says, we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love him, to those who are calling. So there's this whole idea of for those who, right? There's this idea that God will work in us and work through these situations and give us peace in them, even in your worst thing nobody knows how I feel. I can't let go because then nobody would remember, so I have to hold on to it. Those things that you don't really want other people to know about, the hurt, those things, if we allow him to, for those who are called according to his purpose, he will work something beautiful through that. So let's look at 2 Corinthians, and we're going to go through the book more or less, just kind of skipping around. Well, most of tonight will be in chapter 1, but we aren't going to go all the way through all 12 or 13 chapters because that's just too long. So it says here, so 2 Corinthians gives us 4 specific reasons for pain, and we're going to look at those 4 reasons, one tonight and one every night for the next couple weeks. And I'm definitely not saying that those are the only 4 things. I'm just the 4 things that stuck out to me. Praise be to God, to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion, the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with that comfort we ourselves receive from God. So the first reason for pain that we see is so that we can connect with others. Think about this. How many of you have never, now that don't raise hands, okay? Just don't. How many of you have never had a child die? How many of you have never been molested? How many of you have never, been in a relationship that was very abusive? How many of you have never? So how on earth are you going to go to another person and give them hope in a situation you have no idea what you're talking about, right? I mean, how's it going to happen? Oh, it's not that bad. How would you know? Just man up, power through. How would you know what is possible? Not only if it's possible for you, how would you know if it's possible for that person? Because everybody handles things a little bit differently. So let's look back at these 2 verses. So God, praise be to God, He's the Father of compassion, the God of comfort. He comforts us in all our troubles, so that, this is the reason why He comforts us. This isn't the only reason, but this is one of the reasons, according to 2 Corinthians, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort that we ourselves have received from God. It's kind of like this flowing water basin, right? So God is the source of the creek, and you're a pond, and then there's, an empty pond. So God is flowing into you, and then you're flowing into somebody else. The problem is that when we go through things, we actually kind of like to close it off, right? We don't really want to talk about that. Think about, for instance, how many people have gone through panic attacks and how many people talk about going through panic attacks. Think about how many people have lost a child and how many of those people actually talk about the child that they lost. See, I mean, we don't really like talking about the hurts that we've gone through. We kind of like to shut people out. We withdraw. We isolate. It's safer there. We don't have to get made fun of. We don't have to worry about being open to somebody else. That's where we like to stay. We like to stay somewhere safe and secure where we won't get hurt anymore. But God has a way of taking those things that we don't want to talk about and using it to help others. And I think that, that's really important because one of the things that Jesus actually came for was to sympathize for us. Now, obviously, that wasn't one of the main things. He came to free us from the wrath of God. That's job number 1. But one of the reasons why He came was so that He could sympathize with us, so that we don't have a judge who doesn't know, but one who has actually walked it with us, right? But He remained sinless. That's what the Bible says. So He went through the same things that we go through, but He remained sinless through it. So now we have someone who is not uncaring. He can't sympathize. So we're going to listen to a song. It's called For Miles. It's by a band called Thrice. And I think that it kind of gets across some of the point that we're trying to make here. Okay, so in that song, he makes the point that as we share with others who are hurt, we heal too. And that's part of the process of this thing, right? We want to close ourselves off. It's safer that way, but there's also not healing that way. And so whereas God likes to use us in things that might not be comfortable at first, in connecting with others and helping other people, in the end, it's for the best because, you get to heal, you get to help them heal, and it helps you guys go stronger together as friends. And that's really the whole idea of the body of Christ, the whole church thing, right? It's not just a place that we go, it's a place where we connect with each other. Oh, so you are going to have to click on the laptop, Eli, because I don't have connection anymore to the laptop. Just like click on the, yeah, like that. Good, thank you. Okay, so now let's go to verses 5 through 6. For just as we share abundantly in the sufferings of Christ, so also our comfort abounds through Christ. If we are distressed, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings we suffer. So whether or not I am suffering, it's for your best. That's the Cliff Note version there. So we do suffer, but we also share in comforts. It's not all pain. Okay, you do suffer. That is a thing. Okay, for just as we share abundantly the sufferings of Christ. That's the part that we don't really like talking about. But goodness, that's not where it ends. It says, so also our comfort abounds through Christ. So yes, we do have to share in the sufferings of Christ. We'd have to endure being mistreated by people and people thinking poorly of us and things not going how we want and the loss of hopes and dreams and pains and things on this earth that seem unfair, that those pains, we have to go through those things. But we also get to share in the comfort. So it's not all bad. So how do we share in this comfort? Well, it's not through the ways that the world tells us. The world tells us things like self-medication, right? You get drunk, you feel better. Well, maybe for a couple minutes. And then it kind of just hits you all the harder. Downers can't possibly bring relief. Another thing that we do to make ourselves try and feel better is isolation. We try and get away from everybody else. That's proven to not help you heal. In fact, there was a study done about people who go through severe burnout. And in 100% of the cases, if I'm remembering the statistics quite right, I believe it is in 100% of the cases, healing was only found through connecting with others. Burnout was never treated successfully in any other way than connecting with others. See, our generation, my generation, they love to diagnose things and to know things about why we are how we are, but they don't actually like to do anything about that. Like, I'm like this because when I was a kid, my dad, never encouraged me. Oh, okay, so what are you doing about that? Oh, nothing. I hate my dad. Okay. I mean, I guess you could do that if you wanted. There's probably other solutions there. And we love for the doctor to give us a pill so we don't have to change anything about ourselves, right? I don't want to start eating healthy. Forget the kale. Throw away the spinach. I don't care about any of that. I just want to live my life. And if something goes wrong, you do whatever you need to do with the pill or surgery, and then we'll move on. That's how we like to live our lives. We like to isolate. We don't like to do things that feel uncomfortable at all. But the thing about that is it doesn't actually bring any healing to us. And so what we find ourselves doing, my generation more than anybody else, is we go to counselors. And I'm not knocking counselors. I highly advise people to get counselors. But the problem is that oftentimes my generation does this. I'm going to get a counselor, and then I'm going to go in and gripe to them every week, and I'm not going to do anything to change. So if my counselor says anything to make me want to change anything, then I'm going to go get a new counselor, because I don't want a counselor who will help me. I want a counselor who will just listen to me and then tell me that I did nothing wrong. See, and that's not really helpful. So is it good to go to a counselor? Yes. Is it good to do that? No, that's not good. So you're not going to find that comfort in self-medication and isolation. You're not going to find it in couch surfing. People love doing this. Just stay at home. I'm gonna take a self day. Translation: I'm going to sit at home watching TV all day and eating junk food. That's not a self-care day. A self-care day would be like, I don't know, going to church, praying, going for a walk, eating a salad. These are all great examples of self-care. Sitting on the couch at home watching TV is not self-care, and it's not going to bring comfort. But as we seek God, He gives us comfort. That means there has to be a step in this process where we understand that God rewards those who seek Him, and as we seek Him, He can break through in a way that nothing else can. And then that we actually take that step of seeking Him through reading the Bible, praying, those kinds of things. It's not one of those things where we have to think, okay, I'm going to do a tradition. I'm just going to go through this ritual and I'm going to get better. No, it's not like that. You have to connect with God. That means inconveniencing yourself. That means going out of your schedule. That means instead of just praying a 5-minute prayer, getting alone, slowing down for 5 seconds, and really having a prayer with God. It's not about having these perfect words. It's about connecting with God by being real with Him. Sometimes we come to God with like this facade. God sees through those things, and the sooner you get past it, the sooner you can actually have an encounter. But another way that God speaks and gives us comfort isn't just directly from him, but it's also through each other. God gives to us and we give to each other. And I'm going to look at two different verses from 2 Corinthians where Paul specifically says this. The first one is in chapter 7. It says, "But God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us." How did God comfort Paul? By the coming of Titus. It wasn't like he just poured comfort into Paul's head. He comforted Paul by sending Titus. And not only by his coming, his being Titus, but also by the comfort you had given him. You did something to Titus. Titus came to me. I was happy because Titus was here, but I was also happy because of what you did to Titus when he was with you. He told us about your longing for me, your deep sorrow, your ardent concern for me, so that my joy was greater than ever. And then the second one is in chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. "So I made up my mind that I would not make another painful visit to you, for if I grieve you, who is left to make me glad but you whom I have grieved?" In other words, the source of Paul's comfort was them. "I wrote as I did, so that when I came, I would not be distressed by those who should have made me rejoice. I had confidence in all of you that you would all share my joy." And I think that's the end of it. No, yeah, that's the end of it. So we see right there that, yes, God gives to us comfort, yes, but a lot of the times he gives us comfort through others. Another reason why the whole not going to church thing doesn't work. It makes sense on paper, but it doesn't fit when you read the Bible and say, okay, what does God want? Well, he wants you to get to church. That's one of the things. And not just go to a service. He wants you to connect with others. I'm always amazed when I hear Christians say, oh, God doesn't want me to go to that service, or, God told me, to stop going to church, or God told me that, I don't need anybody else. And it's like, wait, what? What? God didn't say that. God's the one who said this. He's the one that said, yes, you do need each other. This is how comfort comes. So we like to isolate and do our own thing, but Proverbs gives us a very pointed warning. It says, when you isolate like that, it's because you want your own desires. You're isolating, pulling back from other people because you want to do what you want to do. Sometimes we do it in a hurt way. I'm hurt. I don't want to be around, get hurt more. Sometimes we do it in an anxiety way. I just can't be out of the house right now. Sometimes we do it in a conniving way. Oh, well, God gave me this special revelation to not go to church. Either way, we're doing the exact same thing. We're pulling back from others, and we're not getting God's will in our lives. We're getting more of us in our lives. So that's how that works. So we looked at 1:5, which is the verse that says right here, we share in the sufferings, but we also share in the comfort. And now we're going to go and just look at verse 6. It says, if we are distressed, it is for your comfort and salvation. Now, how is that going to make me happy, knowing somebody else is suffering? Now, hold on. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings we suffer. Okay? So let's look at this. First off, how do they get comfort when he is in distress? How does his distress cause them comfort and salvation? Well, one of the ways that it does it is that comfort comes after the distress is gone. Have you ever had a friend that was in a really bad situation and you prayed together and you didn't know how he was ever going to get through it, and then he gets through it? How happy you felt for your friend. How happy you felt that prayer was answered, that the situation was resolved. It made you feel really good, right? That's part of what Paul is talking about here. Not the whole thing. It's just part of what he's talking about here. If we are distressed now, it is for your comfort and salvation later. You're going to be brought to joy when God moves, because I know he's going to move, and he says that later on in the book. When God does move, you're going to see it, and it's going to make you happy. So that's one way, but it's not the only way. So yes, the story becomes, but also another way that Paul's and our suffering encourages other people is that it encourages us when we see what other people endure. It encourages us. Have you ever read a really good underdog story? And it just encourages, it makes you feel all kinds of good, right? They rose above the odds, and you're just like, yes, I can do it too. Have you ever read one of those? Or watched a movie where you know everybody thinks this guy's he's not going to make it, and then at the last minute he pulls through and he wins, and you move on and you're like, yes. Or when you're reading a book like The Hiding Place and you see all these things that happen to this family, you think, oh, there's nothing good that can come out of it. But Corrie ten Boom is freed in the end and she survives, and you're thinking, yes, she survived the tyranny. Maybe my situation isn't so bad. Well, that's another way of what Paul is talking about. God encourages us by seeing what others endure. See, Paul's going through all these bad things, and this is what he has to say. What an encouragement. Instead of him saying, life isn't fair, God hates me, the situation is hopeless, nothing good is ever going to come out of this. Instead, he says, hey, let's pull together. That seems like a word of encouragement rather than a word of despair. Another way that Paul's distress comforted the Corinthians, and our distress comforts other people, our pain, our suffering, is that God shows us what we didn't know, which helps others. See, if we had perfect and complete knowledge, we wouldn't need God to show us anything, right? But we don't. So in these situations, God uses it to teach us and to teach other people so that we can then go to them and say, hey, look, it's like this. Have you ever gone through a situation in your marriage that you thought, oh, I have gained fresh insight from this? This isn't something I read in a book. This is something you had to have been married to see. And we pulled through. Look at us. Well, then later on, when you're older, 50, 60, 70, and so on, and you look at these young bucks, these 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds, who they come into a similar situation, and they're all distraught because they think their marriage is over. Well, now you have something to give because God gave something to you. See how that works? Distress brings about comfort. Maybe even that marriage will be saved because of the distress that you had previously gone through. That's one. Those are three ways that his distress or our suffering can bring about comfort. And then the second part of the verse is fairly straightforward. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort. I mean, who gets mad when somebody's saved from a hard situation? I mean, you see someone get out of a bad situation, you're like, hey, huzzah! So as we experience comfort, endurance is produced. You understand how that works? We're going through a situation. It's hard. It's miserable. Nothing good can come out of this. But then we experience comfort. So what happens? That comfort encourages you. It helps you like, hey, I can keep going. It produces endurance in your heart. It helps us go. Have you ever seen somebody that's they're just tired of dealing with the problem? And what a good word will do to them? Proverbs even tells us about this. Well, words have the ability to lift up somebody's broken heart. You can see somebody who's like just done with the situation, and you just spend a little bit of time and encourage them, and it's a 180 for them. Might not have meant so much to you, but for that person, it was exactly what they needed. The problem is a lot of our society, and my generation especially, is real big on this whole just separation thing. They want to live their lives all by themselves. And I mean, you can do that, but life becomes very shallow. And when you don't have real relationships with people. So we want to gripe, we want to isolate, we want to self-medicate, and then we wonder why we aren't getting any better. Because we're doing those things. See, something happens to us to hurt us. So instead of fixing the problem, like by connecting to people, seeking God, instead we say, no, I'm going to do what feels good now. I'm going to self-medicate. I'm going to gripe. I'm going to go find a gripe buddy. I need to go find somebody who I can complain about this with. Well, I'm just going to withdraw from everybody else. And then we get surprised because we don't heal. This is just who I am now. I'm just carrying around this hurt. It'll never go away. It's just a part of who I am. You need to just work around that and accept me. I don't want to put forth the work to heal. Instead, I want everybody else to work around me. You seeing how this works? It looks something like this in the real world, okay? You're having panic attacks. You go to the psychologist, tells you what you're having, why you're having them, and gives you pills. So what do? Well, I have anxiety, so you guys need to stop doing this and this and this because I have anxiety. You all need to work around me because I have this problem. Not I need to work through this problem. You all have to work around me. See, that's not overly helpful. So we do these things that make us feel better for a moment, but they don't actually bring a lasting reward. It's like I brought this up a couple weeks ago. The thing about porn. Porn helps us feel better for a second, but then it makes us feel worse. You see, it doesn't give us a lasting relief. So we get surprised that we aren't getting any better when the truth is that we aren't getting any better because we're not changing anything. You have to give yourself time to feel, to process, but TV and isolation, they don't heal and they never will. Isolating yourself from other people, it will never bring any other result than loneliness. And with that being said, of a study of 400,000 Christians, 400,000, they found that there's a 30% less likely, you are 30% less likely to feel lonely if you read the Bible 4 days a week. So you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. Verse 7 says, and our hope for you is firm because we know that just as you share in our sufferings, so also you share in our sufferings. Our hope for you is firm. It's assured because we know that as you share in our sufferings, you're going through hard times, so also you share in our comfort. Now, the comfort doesn't just come at the end of the suffering. It's something that happens during. What God has done, he can and he will do again. See, Paul has hope. He knows that they're going to share in that comfort. How does he know that? Because as God has done, he can and he will do again. Now let's look forward to verse 10. He has delivered us from such a deadly peril, that's past, and he will deliver us again in the future. On him we have set our hope that he will continue to deliver us now, and he's already delivering us now. He will continue to do that. And so what we do is we draw this false line in the sand. But what if I die? What if you die? Jesus said this, do not be afraid of those who can take your life, and that's all that they can do. Because we're more than just our physical life. We will live for forever. When our earthly body dies is a different issue, but it's not the most important issue. So our hope for you is firm. It's said, we are confident of this. It's hard to watch people suffer, but the same comfort that you have had, they can too. And you might say, I've never experienced that comfort. Are you seeking God? I mean seeking him. I'm not just talking about, I read a chapter today. It doesn't matter how much you read. It matters about seeking God. You can read 500 chapters a day, or you can read one verse a day. It's not about the amount that you read. It's about whether you're seeking God. It's like prayer. You can sit there and say the same prayer over again for 50 minutes. It doesn't matter. If it's not from the heart, you're not really seeking God, then it's not going to do anything. So the same comfort that you hopefully have had, those other people can too. Assuming, of course, that they seek God and don't isolate, because you won't experience things when you isolate. So how does this apply to you? Well, let's go through it. First off, verse 7 is very much so a warning. That's this verse right here. Our hope for you is firm because we know that just as you share in our sufferings, so also you share in our comfort. It's kind of a warning. It's a warning of this, that you will suffer. But it's also a little bit of encouragement because comfort is open to you should you choose to seek God. The problem is that usually when we go through hard times, not only do we isolate, withdraw from other people, but then we also don't seek God. We kind of just sit there and go through this is the bad thing that's happening, and I'm just going to stop trying. And that's definitely not seeking God. That's sitting in, letting the devastation consume you. You can choose to connect with others and God, or you can choose to do things that don't bring comfort. You can choose to isolate if you want. You can choose to complain if you want. You can choose to do the things today that will make you a worse person tomorrow. I have known many people who pulled back from church because of trials that they were going through. And so as they pulled back from church, they also simultaneously pulled back from God. You can't separate the two. Do you know why? Because Christ's body is a part of Christ. So what we do is we get hurt, we pull back from Christ's body, and then we think that our relationship with Christ isn't going to suffer, but it does. And you would say, oh, well, I don't agree with that. In my 17 years of ministry, it's the exact same result every single time. You cannot pull back from church and ever get any other result than pulling back from God. It can't happen. It might make you feel better for a week or two, but I'm telling you, it will not ever bring that healing. It's not going to happen. I've been in ministry for 17 years. I've never seen it any other thing happen than that. If you've had more experience than me in ministry and you have seen a different result, even one single one, I'll hear you out. But after 17 years, I strongly doubt. I have never heard any pastor ever tell me that someone was able to successfully pull back from church and not pull back from God. Never seen it happen. Never. In fact, that's one of the first warning signs I look for to see and to gauge how other people are doing. They start dropping out of ministry. They start dropping out of services. And I know right there, they're pulling away from God. It's one of the things. And when I go and talk to them, it's exactly what, God just feels like he's 100 miles away. I feel like I'm just going through the routine. I feel like you can't separate the two. So the situation gets worse and they change for the worse. See, when you want to pull back from the church, that's when you should stay in all the more, because the situation won't improve if you pull back. You might genuinely feel like pulling back. You might genuinely think that will be the solution to all your problems. It won't be. And it'll make the situation worse. So go through the situation, but know that going through the situation, your feelings aren't going to be overly reliable. It might take a while to have comfort. God, like Pastor said this morning, is not a 45-second McDonald's order, which who has ever gone to McDonald's and gotten their food in 45 seconds? Who's done that? Like, I have never. Like, it's always like 5 minutes, and then you get to the window and like, what did you want? And it's like, but why'd you even have me order the what? You know what? It's fine. That's not even what we're talking about. It might take us a while to have the comfort as a thing. It's not going to be I prayed one time and everything's just totally fine. It's more than that. You have to let the distress run its course. Don't give up. It's like, for instance, when you have a child that dies, right? It hurts, and it has to run its course. You're not just going to wake up and be like, you know what? I feel fine. I can handle this. That's fine. No, you're not fine. You don't have to lie about it. Let it run its course. Don't try and run from it. That's fine. But seek God through the problem, because eventually that situation will end. And you will either be better at the end of it or worse at the end of it. Either way, you're going to go through it. You might as well invest your time wisely. So it might take time for you to experience the comfort. Don't give up just because you don't have comfort right this very second. Lord, we thank you for everything you're doing. And we thank you, Lord, because in your word, you've promised us that our pain can have purpose. Our pain can produce something good. Help us, Lord, to not isolate ourselves and pull back, but to connect with one another and to strengthen one another, just as you have intended from the very start. Lord, that the body of Christ would be a body that works together. And Lord, we love you. And amen.